Hi, I'm FIDE Master Livy Cherbulenko, and in this series I explore the typical mistakes of people rated anywhere between 1000 and 2000. This is a first reaction, no engine analysis of a chess.com gameplay between 1839 versus 1856. Let's start. Alright, f4, not the most common opening. f5, black mirrors white, okay. d4, interesting. Now this is not the best move. Why? Because white forever weakens the e4 square, but the same cannot be said about black's e5 square, meaning black eventually can put, let's say, a knight on e4, and white can never attack that knight with a pawn, with d3 or f3. Whereas when white puts his knight in the future on e5, because black did not yet play d5, black has the option of playing d6. Do you see? So that's the difference. Black could always play d6, get rid of our knight on e5, whereas we can never play d3. So that's why we have a weak e4 square, whereas although the point of d4, f4 is to strengthen the e5 pawn, not pawn, square, it actually doesn't work, because black can play d6. So it doesn't work, right? This makes more sense if black's pawn is on d5. Then it makes sense to play f4, d4 to strengthen e5. But if you can play d6, then you kill the purpose, whereas at the same time, you know, weakening your own e4 square. So this already is not good for white. Black played d5. Okay. It is also fine. I mean, the plus of this is, okay, they give up the control over e5 square, but they now have even more control over the e4 square. But the downside is that they lose control over e5 square, right? So I think it makes more sense not to rush with d5, but to keep the pawn on d7, and then eventually, I mean, to play d6, so that you have total control of e5 and also some good control of e4. I think it's better to have good control of e4 and total control of e5 than even better control of e4 but zero control of e5. Okay, e3, knight f6, knight f3, developing the knight, e6, okay, bishop d3, developing the bishop, bishop d6, developing the bishop, preparing the short castle. Okay, castles. So far nothing special. Knight bd2, developing the knight, okay. Pawn to c6 is okay. I mean, more active would be like pawn c5. This would be a more active move, right? Putting pressure on this central pawn. You know, let's say c3 and then like knight c6. This would be more active. You know, c6 looks a bit more passive. Pawn to c3. White does the same. I mean, white also could have applied the same concept and played c4. Because black played passively c6, we go forward and play actively with c4, you know. So, but okay, c3, b5. Okay, now this already looks dubious. 95. b5 is dubious. The way black plays, I'm not so sure. Now there's this a4 move. a4, remember, typical idea against b5, we always make pawn breaks to advanced pawns. This is an advanced pawn. So we make pawn breaks to advanced pawns. So a4. a4. And now what do we do? If they take, well, now we have a scattered pawn structure, right? Isolated pawn, disconnected, right? So already white has an advantage. And now white, you know, can also play like c4 maybe with initiative. So they can take. If they play, let's say a6, I mean, we just take. And the thing is, usually we always want to take towards the center. But they cannot, because we just take rook. Game over. So basically we have to play cb. Even strategically, this is not the best to take towards the side, but also tactically, we just have bishop takes b5, ab, and then rook takes a8, game over, right? And if they don't take, well, we just move the bishop back, and we just won a pawn, plus black also has one other weak pawn, right? And so what do we do? If they play, I mean, they could play b4, but then one idea, for example, for white could be to play c4. And already we have some initiative. See, like his pawn structure is like disconnected. We could maybe even play a5 maybe to disconnect a7 from b4 even more. Not allow black to play a5. We have initiative on the c file. You know, looks very good. We'll bring maybe like this. The rook on the c file. Maybe when it will go to b3. Pressure on the c file. This looks very good. So c4 would be like, yeah, probably the best, right? Because like right now c4 is not possible, but after b4, c4. Just remember this concept of, it's like not good to have a pawn on b4 Even like a pawn on e7, pawn on c6 is very scattered, very disconnected, like a disconnected body of pawns. Okay, all right. So I think a4 would have been white's best move, but white played knight e5. Okay. Ooh, that's a huge mistake. Oh my god, it's just hanging the pawn. Should have played maybe first, I don't know, queen c7, defending the pawn, and then knight bd7, something like that. Knight bd7, huge mistake. Knight c6, of course. Queen c7, okay. Bishop takes b5. Now this, okay. Another move would be to just go back, obviously. Would be another move, right? One pawn, go back. What is up a pawn? Huge advantage, you know. But white decided to take another pawn, okay. Knight e4, I mean, a better move I think would have been something like a6. White has to play bishop a4, and then knight b6. And the thing is, the bishop cannot move because then we just take the knight. So we have to like, just move the knight, but then black takes, we take, and yes, we won one more pawn. But the thing is, now we lack this key light squared bishop, which was guarding our weak light squares. Notice, all our pawns, basically, most of our pawns are on dark squares. This bishop is weak, bad bishop, and we have automatically, when you have too many pawns on one color, automatically you have the weak opposite color, like d3, e4, c4, b5, all this stuff, right? We have like a complex of weak light squares. So although we won an additional pawn, but we lack our key piece, which is the light square bishop. So black may have some interesting compensation, especially that he has this bishop. He may play like a5, bishop a6, put a rook on b8, put a rook on c8, right? Put a knight on e4 or something. And so he will have compensation on the light squares. So sometimes it's better to be up less material, but keep your key piece, then win even more material, but lose your key piece, you know. Plus also, I mean, because we took his b pawn, now he also has compensation over b file. So I'd rather probably not win that b5 pawn, but keep my key d3 bishop, you know. Yeah. But okay, let's see, knight e4, I mean, what is this? Knight e4, I mean, black would just like go, I mean, white would just go back knight e5 and then bring the bishop back. And so a6 already doesn't work, right? So knight e, oh, see, that's what white just did. Okay, knight f6, okay. Knight takes e4, okay, knight takes e4. Bishop takes d3, see? Putting the bishop back, so it is like not attacked, putting it back in its proper square. And next, I think white could think maybe potentially about some c4 stuff, right? Putting pressure on the d5 pawn. Okay, bishop takes e5, fe. Now I have a power of two bishops. Although this bishop is not so great here, maybe it could be activated like this somehow, like on this diagonal maybe, or potentially maybe some b3 stuff, and you know. But we need to get rid of this knight somehow. So black definitely has some compensation. Okay, bishop d7, bishop d2, rook b8, rook b1. Okay, all right. Bishop b5. Huh. Very, very good maneuver. This is a great move. This is black's best move. Remember I told you about like a strategical aspect of like weak light squares? This is a brilliant exchange for black. Because like I said, this is white's key piece to control the weak light squares, and without it, and plus having this poor bishop, although black is like what, down a pawn, he'll have great compensation. Because we are up a pawn, yes, but this bishop is useless. This knight on e4 is super strong. We can never attack it with a pawn, and we have very weak light squares. So black has great compensation. So this is a great trade. Just remember this idea. Always trade the guardian of your opponent's weak squares. So what do I mean? If your opponent, imagine you're black, and your opponent has weak squares, ask yourself, what is the guardian of those weak squares? Oh, the bishop on d3. You should exchange it. Okay, so bishop b5, black's best move so far in this game. Okay, let's say bishop takes b5, rook takes b5, queen c2, rook b8, black already gets some compensation. But okay, pawn b3, I guess white is preparing c4. I mean, what else? This is his only chance. white has to prepare c4, you know. So queen f7, I'm not so sure about this queen f7 stuff. I mean, maybe he wants to go like this would be the only point, right? Otherwise, it also makes sense to like focus, you know, on the c file, to put pressure on the c3 pawn and also to prevent c4. But okay, here, see, now c4 is actually, I think, a mistake, because at the end, the multiple takes on b1, and then black will take on d2. So, takes, ooh, yeah, see, like, no. And queen c4 also there's knight d2, so it's just a mistake. So, maybe I should have played maybe like here first, and then here, and then c4. Something like that. Okay, something like that. But okay, c4 takes, here, 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 here. Yeah, I mean, white just loses the bishop. Just completely lost. But okay, let's see. Check, maybe some compensation. Just takes the queen. I mean, I think should have just like either taken here, at least get some points, and you know, we're like what, and maybe like queen e6, you know, attacking here. We're down a knight, but we win some pawns, so might be some compensation. Also, we have like the a passer, right? Might get some compensation, might be playable, you know, something like this, or maybe not take a pawn, maybe push this pawn instead of queen a7, right? I mean, move a queen first, something like this, and then c5 and stuff. Or take the pawn, so there's multiple ideas, right? But I think, yeah, white should have never taken the queen. That's a huge mistake. White just completely lost after that. Let's see, d5. I mean, yeah, white just completely lost. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the game. If so, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.